Welcome everybody. Poetry changes lives. Poetry, history, a thought for the day, all together in this book. Here we are, there it is. I bring it every day. I give myself a little dose of my own medicine because it really bucks me up. And sitting here in the early morning in London town on another bright sunny day, you know, the world is in such a mess. I'm in such a mess in some ways, but you know, poetry inspires me to keep going and gives me new ideas, puts something decent into my head instead of all the rubbish and negativity that often dwells there. And you know, I'm so grateful for that, the power of poetry to help me in so many ways that I've laid out again and again, and I hope it will help some of you, my friends. poetrychangeslives.com is the website. You can read all about that sort of thing. You can sign up to receive a daily email all for free, or you can see how you can buy this book if you have a mind to, if you haven't already got it. Give it to your friends or something. It really, you know, I think it does make a nice present. I genuinely think that, otherwise I wouldn't say it. But, you know, give it a try, why not? It's pretty harmless stuff, really. Let me demonstrate what's in the book. On this day, in 1279 BC, that's over 3,000 years ago, Ramses II, Pharaoh of Egypt, he was crowned Pharaoh of Egypt on this day. It's extraordinary, really, that we can pinpoint something that long ago. It must be written on some monument lying in the desert there. Ramses, reckoned by many to be the greatest of all the pharaohs, the warrior king. He won many battles and extended Egypt's power throughout the Middle East. 3,000 years ago, Egypt was the big boy, the big bully in the playground. 1,000 years later, it was the Romans, and now it's a completely different setup altogether, of course. I won't go into that, but history changes, that's the message. Empires rise and fall. Ramesses' remains have survived in a mummy, and it was given forensic examination in Paris some time ago. I'm not sure I agree with that sort of thing. I think we should respect the dead and leave them alone, but that's just my view. Ramses also was known as Ozymandias, and many temples and monuments were built in that name. And there's one, of course, that inspired the English poet Shelley to write his most famous, perhaps, poem, Ozymandias, that many people are familiar with. It's not perhaps quite so well known that when Shelley wrote that at the time, he was traveling throughout the Middle East. He was in Europe in the company of a friend called Horace Smith. And when they found the remains of Ozymandias lying in the desert, they decided they would each write a poem about it. And that's what they did. And Shelley's has become very famous, but Horace Smith also wrote, I think, a pretty good poem as well. And I'm going to read it now because it gives a rather different take on the whole thing. And I think it's good. See what you think of this. Ozymandias by Horace Smith. In Egypt's sandy silence, all alone, stands a gigantic leg, which far off throws the only shadow that the desert knows. I am great Ozymandias, says the stone, the king of kings. This mighty city shows the wonders of my hand. The city's gone, naught but the leg remaining to disclose the site of this forgotten Babylon. We wonder, and some hunter may express wonder like ours, when through the wilderness, where London stood, holding the wolf in chase, he meets some fragment huge, and stops to guess what powerful but unrecorded race once dwelt in that annihilated place. I think that's very well put. You know, he's saying, you know, Egypt was great at one time. London thinks it's great now. The English think they're great, or they did when Shelley and Horace Smith were writing over 100 years ago. The British Empire was quite likely the most powerful force, empire the world had ever seen at that time. And look at us now, and look at what we may be in a few hundred years ago. Perhaps nothing, perhaps a wilderness, perhaps a desert like many parts of Egypt. Think about it. It's a pretty sobering thought. Not a novel thought, but pretty useful to remind us, I think. There we are. Still, we go on, and who knows, all we can do is our best as individuals. Today I will remember the words of Christ from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Yeah, I treasure that. Have a good day. I wish you all a good day, and thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.